Solo episode number 3, 4, or 5, I don't know. But we're back. Well, I'm back. Partly because, I don't know, we all have AIDS. We all have every disease possible. Norovirus. I don't know. It's bad. But pretty much every week, Chris gets sick or I get sick. And then Chris gets sick and then I get a tummy ache. I pretty much suffer from the same thing that Gordon Ryan has. So I get crippled for like 6 to 8 hours at a time where I just lay on the bathroom floor and wish I would just die. So we're doing a solo episode today. It's 12 o'clock Tuesday, so it's midnight. And because I almost forgot that I had to record an episode, I thought I had an episode banked. And I didn't, and I remembered at about 11:30. So here we are. I set up the lights. I got everything going. We got some questions that came in. So we're just gonna get going with some jiu-jitsu, some mindset. There's a question that came in about black belts, training partner stuff, TRT, and yeah. But first, I think I wanted to ask something. This is for our gun nuts. If you are carrying, what is your go-to? Do you go with a cute little guy like this? Huh? A little G43X? Nothing fancy, nothing special, but does the job. Maybe not your concealed carry. Are you more of a rifle fella, like this guy? Heyo. What's your loadout look like? Tell me. What's your go-to little things? Accoutrements, some people call them. I'd love to know. Or if you're a concealed carry guy, are you more one of these guys? Ooh, good morning. That's how I hold it too. Just like this. I look right down the little dot thingy, the little piece of glass there, and I just go pew pew. Would love to know. Leave a comment. Just wondering. Been having it on my mind. Recently got a couple pieces of weaponry, so I figured I would ask the people. If you hate guns, let me know. I would love to know if you hate guns, and I would love to know why. I'm neither here or there. Obviously, I like guns, but I wouldn't mind knowing. But I really want to know what you guys prefer to carry. Because I go in between the G43X, the G19, and my Springfield XD. I go between all those. But I prefer the Glock 19 personally. That's just, that thing's butter. And I do shoot iron sights basically with my pistols. Obviously this 44 mag is a little different, but I inherited that guy. Let's get into some jiu-jitsu talk, huh? So the first question that came in was, I'm struggling with viewing my teammates as my competition when sparring in the gym, even though I know they aren't competition. Any advice on how to change my mindset so I can view my teammates as individuals who will help me in my journey to get better in actual competition? So one, this is interesting because I have had this exact issue. I do wonder if other people have, if this is like a fairly prevalent issue, because I don't think people would admit this very much, that they view their teammates at times as their actual competition. And maybe you don't actually think of it that way, but if you take a moment and you're like, man, why am I so damn competitive with this person or this person? You start to realize that like that's literally the only competition you have. That's the only person you're actually striving to do better because you want to be that one person, or maybe even it's a couple people. That totally happens. My microphone, hello. So for me, I find I had a big gap where I didn't compete. I didn't compete at purple belt. I didn't compete for most of my brown belt. It wasn't until towards the end of brown belt I started ramping up competitions, and I did a few. And then at blue belt, I competed right when I got my blue belt, and then I did not compete at blue belt again. So I had a pretty good amount of time there where I didn't compete. And what I noticed, now part of that was due to the Voldemort, Voldemort, that's what we call, so get around the algorithm ban, that special little thing that was going around that made people cough. But so I found I started, because I didn't have competition, like actual competition, I was using the gym as my competition, which then made it so I was then overly competitive. And this is all in my own head. Like I was overly competitive with my training partners. And once again, at first I didn't even realize it. So then I would continue to have nerves going to training. And sometimes I still get nerves even today, like as a black belt or whatever. And I'll still get nerves going to my own home gym that I'm an instructor at. And I'll get butterflies still. Like, what the hell is that? But not as much because I'm viewing my training partners as competition. More so, I just want to do a good job. I put pressure on myself to display good technique. As if I'm coaching, I put a lot of pressure on myself to actually just coach and do a good job, because sometimes I think that I might actually like suck like teaching something, even though like I completely sorry, I just got a text from Olivia and now it's distracting me. She's mad that I went and got Zelles and didn't get her any. So anyways, I don't even know where I was, but what helped me with the mindset thing was, one, competing, actually like doing competitions. That gave me something to actually strive for, and almost like a blank face to treat as my competition, rather than always viewing, like comparing myself to my training partners and always viewing my training partners as my competition. So it was almost like that immediately turned my teammates into actual teammates, and not just the only person that I ever test my skills against. Maybe competition isn't your thing. Maybe you're a little worried about getting hurt. These are all valid. Or maybe it's just you don't have any desire to put yourself out there like that. I think that's completely normal. But if you're going through these struggles, then I would say cross-train. Now, it's not a competition for sure, but part of competition is you're pressure testing your jiu-jitsu, right? Especially as recreational or hobbyists or whatever you want to call it, we are doing this for fun. But part of the fun is the competitive side, right? There's the problem-solving side, which is super fun, right? Especially for like the brainiacs out there that like math and murder mysteries. You enjoy the problem-solving side of jiu-jitsu. Going to an open mat is like a problem you've never seen, because it's going to be someone that you have never rolled with. They have an instructor that teaches different techniques than your instructor, or at least maybe the techniques that they teach are just a slightly different. And then there's the body types, the personality types. So all these things end up making it so your experience is, it's almost fresh. And it's a way to pressure test your jiu-jitsu without all the external pressures that a tournament can bring. Now, if you don't drop in to other gyms much and cross train, you're gonna get those butterflies. It's the second best thing you can do to challenge the nerves and pressure test your skills is dropping into other gyms. It doesn't cost money typically. Sometimes you got to pay a drop-in fee, depending on the gym. But I would say that is one of the best things you can do, and I would ease into it. Me personally, I would recommend cross training before even doing a tournament, just so you can start to feel those nerves. You can start to get comfortable with those, because man, that first time you start cross training, that first time you do a tournament, the amount of, even if you have good cardio, the I don't know if adrenaline dumps are real, but that kind of adrenaline dump, that nervous system fatigue that will end up happening 2 minutes in, a minute into your first round is shocking. And you really don't want to feel that for the first time in a competition that you just paid $100 to enter in. And if you only have one match potentially, or two matches, that really sucks that something like that would happen. So I recommend going to open mats or other gyms and classes and kind of getting used to that in that way. Another thing to kind of consider when you're looking at your teammates as competition is, like, you can't do jiu-jitsu alone. Like, sure, you can do solo drills and stuff like that, but you need these people. Like, do you want them to get better? Probably. They want you to get better too. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not the competitive side of, like, God damn, they got me today. That's normal, natural, I would say even good. You want to have that kind of competitive spirit in you, because that's what's going to drive you to get better. That usually drives me to get better when I want to actually, like, when I have someone in the gym that I'm like, man, they keep berimboloing me or something like that. It's going to push me to try to get better against their skill set. So if they have a good spider guard and I just cannot pass their spider guard. They're going to help me get better at getting past spider guards. So then when I encounter that problem in a tournament or open mat or something like that, I'm actually going to have a ton of experience there, and I might even have a really good answer because I've experienced it so much with them, and they've pushed me to get better at that. That's why it's always nice when you have someone these kind of niche players, maybe it's a leg locker, maybe it's a lapel player, maybe it's a berimbolo person, these people that kind of go outside the box a little bit and they kind of niche down. These training partners are super, super useful, because you're going to get the looks from them, from those players that not a lot of people are doing. So when you do come across someone, you've been there before. Super, super valuable. So looking at training partners as all unique pieces that you can kind of glean stuff from, maybe you're not going to start doing what they do, but be thankful that you get to roll with this person that is pushing you, because ultimately that's why you're getting probably frustrated, is that they push you. And it doesn't always feel good. And maybe you feel like you're always trailing. You're always just behind. You're never kind of catching up to them. You're never closing that gap. Now, depending if their training frequency, you compared to them, it's not about closing the gap on them. That can be like a mini, in my opinion, I don't think it's actually all that bad to have a mini goal that is like, I want to get to the point. I have a training partner myself that beats the piss out of me, and I've actually a few, and I rarely score a point on them. I might get an advantage every once in a while, whether it's my coach or some of the other black belts, or even there's a purple belt that I struggle to even score a point on. Does that mean I'm a shitty black belt? Maybe, I don't know. But that's for like other people to decide, I would say. But it's these people can give you like mini goals to be like, okay, I'm gonna just try not to get submitted by that person. So then what happens is my submission defense gets better. I stop trying to just win the round And it's like, let's be realistic. Let's just work on this one thing. Even though that person's typically always better than me, I'm gonna be able to work on this one thing that will then literally make me get better. So that gap will get smaller, okay? Now maybe it's someone that you go back and forth with. It's just sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and you feel like you can never jump ahead. The expectation, unless you're putting in a heavy amount of work to jump ahead or close a gap on someone that trains just as much as you, is kind of unrealistic. And even if they don't, like maybe you train a little bit more than them, that's even kind of unrealistic. Unless you're putting in super intentional time into your practice. And that's kind of where we get lost, in my opinion, when it comes to training. We train without intention. Pro grapplers, when they train, typically, not all of them, honestly, and because our sport is still pretty amateur, but a lot of the top people, when they train, they're very intentional when they're in the gym. They're working on something very specific. They're to a point that it's annoying. They'll sub you with the same exact thing over and over and over, let's say, because they're just they're using sparring as a drilling time. They're using sparring as, instead of passive drilling, active drilling. And they're trying to figure out why it didn't work, why it did work, what they could tighten up, what could do better, what could do worse, right? So if you're not being a psycho like that, how are you gonna really close that gap unless your training frequency is a lot more? So if you can't do a heavy training frequency, as in like training a lot of days compared to your training partners or other people, then you're gonna have to be more intentional. But the big question is mentally, get rid of a training partner being your competition. They're not. You're your own competition, number one. Number two, the best way to kind of get past that, like I said, is cross-training and tournaments. Hopefully that helps. This was an email question. Email back, let us know if that did help, or if you're like, no, I just don't quite get it and you're stupid. I'll take that too. Another question is, what about, someone on YouTube, they asked about what about having Masters 2 or 3 or 4 according to stripes as the black belt. So I think they were talking about, we had that episode where I had mentioned, I think it gets a little ridiculous when you have like a Master 2, let's say, which is 35 to 39. You have those athletes that are still pro. They're still literally competing at pro like worlds and stuff like that, and doing well, podiums, and then they go to Master Worlds, and then they just submit every single 39-year-old that's just a car salesman or a photographer or something like that, and they do that just year after year after year, right? A couple good examples are Marcos Tergosa. I think that's how you say his last name, Tergosa, and Josh Hinger. These are two super easy examples. Marcos wins literally everything in his division. Every open, every major. I don't even know when the last time he didn't win a tournament he was in. And the one I'm thinking of, I think he might even closed out and took second. To me, it's like, why? This is just my personal opinion. What are you getting out of just, you're training more than these hobbyists, which is predominantly what they're going against. To me, I feel like once you like win a certain amount, it almost makes sense in my mind to then push you to, I was calling like a pro division or something. So then if you've accumulated a certain amount of points, this is IBJJF, I guess, is what we're mainly talking about. If you accumulate a certain amount of points, or if you are the reigning major champ, so like if you're the reigning world champ, you get bumped into the world or into the pro division. If you've accumulated 100 points out of the opens, you're in the pro division. Now, maybe, obviously, you know, I'm just spitballing here. I don't know. Some people got a little pissy about this. So I'm just shooting this shit, talking out loud. So I think this guy was actually saying, what about having it dependent on how many degrees they have? So a Master 2 would be a 2nd degree, a Master 3 would be a 3rd degree, a Master 4. I don't know if that necessarily fixes the issue, because you could have a Master 2 or a Master 3, that's what I am, that trains a ton, and then you can have your Master 3 that he's just training at a normal frequency, and not able to put in a whole lot of time. He's got a family, he's got a job and all that kind of stuff. And then you have the guys like Josh Hinger, he's a Master 3. So, you know, imagine my stupid ass going against Josh Hinger. I'm gonna get body triangled, and it's just gonna be silly. So I think that's a cool opportunity. Like I'm excited to do that one day, but to be able to compete against such a high level person. But it just, I don't know. To me, it seems like there's certain cases that we could make this more enjoyable for everybody. One, to challenge the really good guys like Tergosa and Hinger, so they can be more challenged. And then normal fatties like me can maybe have a more enjoyable experience. Now, this is maybe a little bit of a participation trophy, like soft ass way to think of it. I'll accept it. I allow it. It's all good. But I'm also, once again, I'm just kind of spitballing here. Another question was black belts. Oh, okay. So black belts today being better than black belts of yesteryear. So I think absolutely today's black belts are a lot better than the old school black belts. Now, when I say that, I mean at the top level. So our elite black belts, I think, completely ragdoll old black belts. At the same time, I think there is a more watered down level now that didn't necessarily exist back then. What I mean is, I think a little bit of the Americanization, if that's a word, of jiu-jitsu has brought up the top of jiu-jitsu, has raised it, but it's also lowered the bar at the bottom end, to where some of the black belts, and I have no idea what percentage, are not, they couldn't hold the jock strap of the old black belts. But at the top of the food chain, they're far and away better, to the point where even, you know, Keenan got in a bunch of shit about this. He said a purple belt now, like a competition level, world level purple belt now could beat Rickson Gracie back then. I think that's what he said. I probably. I mean, you're telling me Rotolos, when they were a purple belt, a juvenile purple belt, couldn't give Rickson in his heyday a run? I feel like they probably could. I don't know if they would trounce him. I mean, the thing is with like some of these old school black belts, like, I mean, I think Rickson's a bad example, because we mainly only watched him in MMA, and he was coming up in such a time that if you were like a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, you could like mess people up. And obviously he was much better than that, but I think that's a tough comparison. I think a better comparison is going to be someone like Tedede. Some of these really old school guys that are, or like Nino Schembri, you know, someone like this, that are really old school, but they were at a very high level, could, on the competition scene, now could, let's say Kolabate, when he was a purple belt, or Rotolos, let's say, could they beat those guys? That's an interesting question. My knee-jerk reaction is actually, when I think about it right now, I say no. But I don't know, maybe. What do you guys think? I mean, this is such a hot topic. So what are some other old school? We're gonna go further back than Marcelo Garcia. Like, we want to go further back. So maybe like Laborio. That's another guy we could look at. I mean, Pablo Popovich, but he's more like Marcelo Garcia's time. You're talking like mid 2000s. If we go back earlier, like into those 90s era, that's when it's like, you know, because that's when we're talking about, I think Tom DeBlas, or no, Josh Barnett won, right? Back in the day. So I don't know. I feel like, I think in certain cases, guys like Tedede and Nino Schembri, they have like really pure jiu-jitsu, right? Guys like Josh Barnett, I could see, you know, like that, what's that Australian guy, Saunders or something? I could see someone, or Luke Griffith. I could see Luke Griffith beating Josh Barnett. Not today, Josh Barnett, obviously, because he's old, but in his heyday, Josh Barnett, I could see Luke Griffith beating him, or that Saunders guy from Australia. I don't know. Interested to hear what you guys think. Then we also got some mindset, self-talk. So I am the king of talking shit to myself. I will talk myself down as like a motivator. If some of the people that have listened to the podcast a bit, you guys know that Chris and I, we are we have the internal monologue, the internal self-talk that is like calling yourself a puss and like, don't be a bitch, and all that kind of stuff, or, oh, you're an idiot. And like, you know, we kind of trash talk ourselves into, what was it? We try to trash talk ourselves into motivation. It's not the best. It's not the best. And I still do it, but I've experimented in the last year with positive self-talk and trying to get better about not going down the road of just being like angry, or not angry, but like brutalizing myself and like beating myself up and being like, oh, you pussy, do it, you know. Sometimes that works still, for sure. But I find I have better results and a more enjoyable process when I don't do that. When I actually positively self-talk. Now this is gonna get woo-woo-y. I got my essential oils right here. So I'm gonna start rubbing those on my calves. And you guys can all do it with me. But positive self-talk by far has like, it's changed my game, I would say. Especially when it comes to tournaments. Once again, we're gonna get a little weird here. We're gonna get a little woo-woo-y. I'm gonna take my shirt off. But the telling myself that I am good at jiu-jitsu, that I am confident, visualizing winning, visualizing doing the moves that I want to do for, you know, this is in a tournament setting, the lead up especially. My visualization of just performing my moves that I'm going to be going for, because, you know, when you lead up to a tournament, you should zero in on your jiu-jitsu, as in you should shrink it down. Don't have this huge vast thing of jiu-jitsu. Shrink it down. I'm going to do this takedown or this guard pull. This is the guard I want to play. You know, kind of shrink it down. And I'm visualizing constantly, instead of kind of tough talking myself, I'm just visualizing doing, like, being successful in the moments. And then when I have moments of negativity, I literally just have to, I just have to shut it down. Like, you just literally stop it and you catch yourself and you go, nope, pause. And it's so ridiculous. It's so dumb. I hate it, honestly. But I'll sit there and I'll just say, nope. And then I'll say something positive to myself, and then I'll think positively. I'll think like I'm doing something good. It is, I want to say it's retarded. That's it. I just want to say it's retarded. But damn, it works. It literally works. Having positive mindset. Something else that I tell myself, especially in the lead up to tournaments or whenever. So when I just signed up for a tournament today, and just looking at the brackets, my heart was bum, 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 bum. Like, what the hell is that? What is that? I thought I was getting better about this. Like, I was competing. That one of the reasons I compete so much is I want to get better about handling the pressure. So my heart starts jumping around and I'm like kind of sweating a little bit. I'm like, holy smokes. Just thinking about signing up, just looking at the brackets, like, holy cow. And something I tell my students, or this, not necessarily my students, I'm just a coach at the gym, but they're Andrew's students, but like the people in the class that when I'm teaching or teammates I tell them, you're not afraid to lose or make a mistake, okay? You are not afraid, and I'll tell myself that, I'm not afraid to lose, I'm not afraid to make a mistake. I'll repeat that and I'll say that to myself to the lead up to a tournament, sometimes 10 times in a day. I am relentless. I repeat all these at the same time. I am relentless. I will never give up. I am thankful to be able to do jiu-jitsu. So I repeat these 4 things to myself, one after another. I got this from Sean Weisenberg. He's a wrestler, jiu-jitsu black belt. He beat AJ Agazarm at Fight to Win. I was at an open mat and we had rolled, and I was just talking to him about how nervous I was. And he said it's part of this wrestler's mindset, this wrestler's credo thing. So instead of jiu-jitsu, it's wrestling. And I was like, dude, I love that. And I started saying that to myself. And at the last tournament, I was calmer than I've basically ever been. And I didn't even get to warm up for that tournament. Like, I got there a little late and I just had to literally like put my gi on, weigh in, and go on the mats. And I did pretty well. So I'm not afraid to make a mistake. I'm not afraid to lose. I am relentless. I will never give up. And I'm thankful to be able to do jiu-jitsu. This helped me so much. Being thankful to be able to do jiu-jitsu. Like, at some point, we're gonna have our last round and we're not even gonna know it, right? We're gonna have our last practice session and we're not even gonna know that was our last one. You know what I'm saying? So, like, being able to do this is have fun. Smile. Yes, if you're one of those people that, like, when you go to a tournament or a match or something like that and you gotta slap yourself around, you know, that whole thing. 1, don't do that. You look goofy. 2, you're just you're hyping yourself up for no reason. You're going to compete hard. You don't need to slap yourself up and like get all like intense and like scream and all that kind of shit, especially when you win. That's a pet peeve. Act like you've been there before. When you win, act like you've been there before. I understand having an emotional moment. I've had an emotional moment at a tournament. I totally get it. But if you're at your local freaking tournament and you rip open that gi and you scream, you just killed a kitten. Absolutely, 100%. Don't do it, okay? Act like you've been there before. Know that you've done the work. You know, it's not just a professionalism and a respect thing. There's going to be a confidence there when they raise your hand and you're just deadpan. Yep. Feels tremendous. Just my recommendation. So hopefully some of that helps with the mindset thing and and being positive. It literally changed, and I still tough talk myself and all that kind of stuff. Just give it a shot. Give it a shot. Try to catch yourself when you're beating the shit out of yourself. Just stop. Just stop. Stop thinking and change what you're saying. Okay? I firmly applied a full bottle of essential oils on my butt, and I'm feeling spunky. So it's only 12:41. That was about a 30-minute little episode here. I don't really got anything else. Oh no, actually, I got one more. So I'm not a doctor. I don't know if you guys knew that. Chris usually holds that down, but I am gonna answer briefly this TRT question. So we had someone ask, and Chris will, I'm sure he'll jump in on the next episode, and he'll answer with, more kind of big words and all that. But we had someone say they've been listening to this, to one of the episodes, and they went back to episode 10, which I do recommend if you're interested in hormones and TRT and all that. Episode 10 is a big episode where we have Dr. Carey and Dr. Chris talk about that. And he says he's 42. He's been doing jiu-jitsu for a decade plus. And last year he talked to his doctor about TRT. He said he got his levels checked and they were 150. When I got checked the first time, mine was about the same, and I was only 26 years old, I think I was. So I totally understand. And he says, the doc says, okay, well, you're below the 250 threshold. Let's try it again. And I think about a week later, he tries it again, and he's at 300 now. So he was at 150, and now he tests at 300. His doc tries to say, well, now you're over 250 on the second one, so you're good medically, which already kick that doctor in the nuts and walk out, literally. Like that, this like reliance on just numbers, if you've listened to the podcast, you understand how these numbers are, I'm not saying they're bullshit, but they're bullshit. How about that? Here's your doctor note. One, I would ask you, how do you feel? Like, and go through that whole list of libido, recovery, sleep, blah, 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 and let alone lifestyle choices that you're making. But anyways, back to it. He says, I talked him into a third test. So now he's been 150, then he's 250, and he's going in for a third. And he says, it comes back at 450. My man got on that Mexican bomba. And he says, now he's definitely no longer caring about my level, as in the doctor doesn't give a shit about his levels. And he says, so his question to us is whether that is normal that my levels would swing 300 points within a few weeks. He says, I think it was around 2 weeks between each test. Okay, so first test, 2 weeks, second test, 2 weeks, third test. He says, I have plenty of the symptoms of low testosterone that you guys and others have talked about. Okay, so that kind of answers one of my questions about how he's feeling, which makes him really wonder where he's actually at. Well, your numbers are not lying. Your fluctuation is extremely normal, even day to day. If you got shitty sleep, you could dip extremely, like these large amounts. If you got really good sleep, let's say the day before your 450 test, you didn't work out. You had a good recovery day. You ate well. You had a decent amount of protein. And then you slept really well. You had good sleep. Absolutely, you could have a higher number that next morning. No doubt about it. Most likely you didn't do this, but one of those days, did you drink a day or two before? Just even a couple beers, a beer, that's gonna hinder your numbers. So like I said, Chris, I'm sure will answer this more intelligently than me, but just from my experience of talking with Chris and Carey for so many episodes, and then myself being on TRT and experimenting. I've been on and off TRT for close to 10 years. And I've experienced a lot, experimented a lot. So absolutely, you can fluctuate like that, even in a shorter span than 2 weeks. You want to try, especially when you have a doctor like this that's a retard, you're going to want to try to make the testing as consistent as possible. So whether that's nutritionally, workout, like if you did a badass workout the day before and then the next day you did your test, but then 2 weeks later when you did the test again, you didn't work out like I was saying earlier, that absolutely can make a difference right there, even down to, like I was saying, nutrition. So yeah, when you do that, you should absolutely try to be consistent on that. Man, I would absolutely look for a different doctor for this. I don't know if he's like your general health, if he's just a urologist or what he is. I would absolutely look at going to a different clinic. Not one of those cosmetic clinics that they'll charge you $250 a month to inject your TRT in you or some shit like that. Run away from those. You know, some sort of integrated medicine is kind of my recommendation that I've had the best results with. So yes, to answer your question, if you are having the actual symptoms, 450 is absolutely a number that I feel shitty at 450. I do not feel good. And I'm to the point now where I eat clean and I got my sleep honed in. So I know, like, when I didn't have good sleep, I feel it. When I'm a couple days late on my injection, I feel it. I know I'm dipping, like actually just this last week. So typically I hit that bomba on Friday night. I didn't shoot that stuff in until I think it was Monday. And I could tell Monday day class, I was like, oof, I was dead. I ended up injecting after day class. So like I can tell just a couple days later, I'm just hardcore crashing every single day. I don't drink. My sleep's fine. So yeah, answer is yes. Find a new doctor, at least for this, is my personal recommendation. Listen to the next episode. I'm sure Chris will have more information on that. If you guys got other questions, please send them in. Let me know what you conceal carry if you do. Other than that, that's it, y'all. See you later.